Hello, and welcome to another episode of Taylor Talks Comics. Today, we're going to do an overview of all of the Black Hammer library editions. Alright, so Black Hammer is a pretty big universe now that Jeff Lemire has created over at Dark Horse with Dean Ormston and some other creators. And so far, there have been 5 of these beautiful library editions published by Dark Horse. Try to show off all the spines here so you can see what they look like on the shelf before I show them off individually. As you can see, there are 2 of the volumes 1 and 2. I know they're not in order here based on the shelf, but work with me here. So, volumes 1 and 2 of the mainline series consist of these 2 volumes that just say Black Hammer, and then there's 3 spin-off volumes that are the World of Black Hammer, all written by Jeff Lemire, and then there's a bunch of other creators involved too, which I'll go over. So the only differences really are these say the World of, and then the Dark Horse banner at the bottom is flipped on those, and then the Dark Horse logo is on the top. So that's what they all look like on their spines. I'm going to go over these in order of well, we'll talk about that. There's kind of a different narrative of the proper reading order for these, and I think it's a little bit more fluid than people maybe imagine. But this is the first library edition. This is Black Hammer, Volume 1. And I should say that you should please give the video a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other videos. I don't have the tightest schedule, so my videos can be kind of sporadic, but that's all the more reason why you should subscribe to the with the notification bell. That way you never miss a video. But this is volume 1 of the library editions. This is what the back looks like. And they are these thick volumes. And they are, do I have a, okay, here we go. And they are way oversized. So this is your standard size. This is a trade paperback. I guess maybe I should do it this way. And this is what a standard size comic book is. So you can see the library editions are, wider and taller than these. And they're also, here is an omnibus by Marvel Comics Muppets. And you can see that it's still bigger than those. So these are like the premiere edition, collected edition from Dark Horse. They're also the same trim size as like a DC Absolute, if you're familiar with those. So these are the flaps inside the dust jacket. I'm just gonna pull it all the way out too, so you can take a look at it. And then on the inside is the exact same thing, which is my only complaint. That Dark Horse does this a lot, where the dust jacket is the exact same as what's on the board. I'm not the biggest fan of dust jackets. I understand the purpose, but I wish there would be some sort of different art at least underneath it if you're gonna do that. It does come with, these do all come with ribbons, which are nice. And I joke about that because the series is so great that why does it even come with these? I joke about it because I read these in one sitting typically. So you don't really need the ribbon, but of course, the ribbon's always nice. So the end papers here have some birds flocking. Not the most ornate design, but still cool nonetheless. And then here we go with the opening page with the credits. So it's written by Jeff Lemire, art by Dean Ormston, and then it gives you the letters. Art and letters for Black Hammer 9 and 12 are by David Rubin. And then giant size annual, you have art by Dustin Nguyen, Mike Allred, Amy Lennox, Nate Powell, Matt Kent, Ray Fox, and Charlene Kent. The color's done by Dave Stewart, who's a frequent colorist on a ton of different comics, but probably most famous for his work on like Hellboy, now Black Hammer, and those kinds of things. He's one of the primo colorists in comics. Letters by Todd Klein, also one of the primo letterers. And then chapter pages. Here's a little introduction. This one's written by Warren Ellis. It was written in 2018. And then here's the front cover. So the covers in the book, they're all here, and they all separate the chapters. But they are the without the trade dress, so you don't see the Black Hammer writing and stuff like that. And obviously that matches the cover here, although it's painted differently for that collection. And then you have an alternate cover here, which is really cool, kind of an homage to like an old Silver Age comic. Sorry, I gotta make sure you get in the shot here. And then we start our story. So what is Black Hammer, and why is it so highly touted? Well, Jeff Lemire, it's really, I truly believe this. I think it's one of the most fantastic series in comics today. And the world is constantly being built and constantly just being built on top of layers and layers. And the characters are so plentiful as well. Here's another cool cover. But then, like, the things that Jeff Lemire wants to say in the writing is really fantastic as well. He has some cool, like, Lovecraftian monsters, too. But what it is, it's basically a superhero comic. It's Jeff Lemire making his own superhero world. And this is important to note here. I'll probably refer back to this character in particular. It's him making his own superhero universe. And, you know, that's been done like 1,000 different times, 1,000 different ways over the years. Oh, this is Dave Rubin. I can tell the art style. I love Dave Rubin's art. He did Ether with Matt Kent. And he's also doing a Kickstarter book that I backed last May that's going to be finally shipped out soon. But it's Cosmic Detective. And he did that with Jeff Lemire and Matt Kent. And I can't wait to show that off on here. I love his lettering too. But I digress. So, you know, different superhero universes have been done like 1,000 times over, right? Well, this one is unique to me in the sense that I think it's the way that Jeff Lemire went about telling the story and how layered it is. So, on its face, all right, so you have these characters. You have Abraham Slam, you have Colonel Weird, Talkie Walkie, Golden Gale, Barbalian, and Madame Dragonfly. So, on its face, you can see, like, this is kind of a stand-in for your Golden Age hero. Think of, like, a Captain America type, maybe a little bit of Superman, that kind of thing. Golden Age classic hero. And then you have your Adam Strange kind of stand-in. Talkie Walkie is, I mean, he's more of a robot. I don't know what the stand-in for him would be. Then Golden Gale's kind of your Shazam character. Barbalian is like your Martian Manhunter. And Madame Dragonfly is, he reminds me the most of like Raven from Teen Titans. So it's kind of a mishmash. You don't really see, it's not like it's just your Justice League. It's not like you have your, you know, Superman, Batman, Green Lantern type characters. It is a mix of different genres and runs and those kinds of things, which is also unique. But the cool thing about it is that Jeff Lemire does is he weaves the story in a way that it tells a great story. Like, this is new reader friendly. You can hand this comic book to any one of your friends that have never read a comic book before, and I think they would love and enjoy it. However, it also treats longtime comic book readers because there's like this metatextual narrative being played out. Oh, here's some great Matt Kent artwork. I can tell that right away. That it kind of has like this meta commentary, social commentary on, here's Mike Allred, on comic books in general. So you'll have things like, you know, like a soft reboot or a cataclysmic event by the villain I pointed out earlier that I said I was going to reference later. That's kind of like your dark side character. So it's telling like kind of like two stories at once a little bit. I don't know if that's the best way to put it. Here's volume 2. And I will say that it has like a matte finish on the volume 1 and even on the dust jacket. The rest of them have like a glossy finish. I'm not sure why that choice was changed, but I digress. This is volume 2, dust jacket. But I guess the best way I could say it is that when I see people talk about like gateway comics for new readers, it's like, what's a good comic you can hand to somebody that they can get into? People like, it drives me nuts when people say Watchmen. I think Watchmen's one of the worst comics you can hand a new reader. So this is volume 2. It has a nice Scotty Young variant cover there. And also has a previously in Black Hammer catch-up intro here. And there's the credits. So this one's got, you have Klein, Stewart, Ormston, Lemire back on this one, but you also have 2 issues drawn by Rich Tommaso, which I'll show off. He's awesome. He's my favorites. Then you have Amy Lennox back. The encyclopedia is written by Tate Brombell. I don't know. Bromble? How to say that. And then you have art by Ruben, Torres, Crook, Ward, Zonjic, Kent, Lennox, Fox, Hurt, Sullivan, Inger, Tommaso, Gerald, Grace, Stewart. And Andre Sorrentino. Try to make sure I do all my Farrell Dalrymple, Fabio Moon, James Heron, Scotty Young, Michelle Fife, Bill Sienkiewicz, Paul Pope, Jill Thompson. Lots of credits there, sorry. So I think Watchmen is one of the worst comics you can give a new reader, just because I think a lot of what makes Watchmen great is that commentary on comic books, and just the fact that, like, also I feel if that's their first superhero comic, they're gonna have like a tainted view of what superhero comics are. And the whole concept behind Watchmen for Alan Moore was to deconstruct the superhero genre, but not to deconstruct it. There's a nice Dark Knight Returns homage, but not to deconstruct it permanently. His idea was to deconstruct it so then in the future creators can build off of that. Here's a great Rich Tommaso artwork. He has this awesome, like, a little bit of Daniel Klaus. I think that's Farrell Dalrymple right there. I don't see his signature, but I'm almost certain that's Farrell Dalrymple. He has like this Daniel Klaus almost, maybe even a little bit of Hergé art style to his art. And this is Colonel Weird traveling through another dimension, so it makes sense that the art would change. But yeah, so Alan Moore wanted to deconstruct the superhero genres and to build it back up. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of creators that have viewed Watchmen as like the peak, and that's how they filter all their comics work through that lens of Watchmen, which is not what Alan Moore's goal was. What his goal was for people to reconstruct the superhero genre and build upon it, making it what it could truly be. And it's things like Black Hammer that kind of aim at that goal. I think Jeff Lemire nailed kind of what Alan Moore wanted to happen to the genre after. There's Michelle Fife. Afterwards. So in a post-Watchmen era, I think this is one of the best superhero comics to come out. And that's what I'm talking about. So there's like, even like little things that you won't pick up on unless you've been reading comics for a long time. Like the first volume started off with like the 9-panel grid. I think it's obviously an homage to Watchmen with the 9-panel grid thing. And then in this second volume, you have like these television talking heads with like blurbs about what they're saying, very much an homage to The Dark Knight Returns. So you have little things like that that kind of like make little comments or have little homages to things that comics have been doing or famous things in comics. But those won't be, those won't be completely lost on you for a brand new reader. And the specials in this one have some, sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to explain what Black Hammer is and go over these great library editions. Those are Fred Hembach tribute. The first one has like these great process pages, the first volume, but also in the back it has like the original concepts by Jeff Lemire and his drawings of the characters with these bios that he drew or wrote. And that's important to note because Jeff Lemire originally thought the series was going to be written and drawn by him, because I love his art too. He's got a very auteur style to his art. And then this is the timeline, which is kind of cool. So this is the encyclopedia. That's the special feature in the back of this volume 2 here. You got a great Andre Sorrentino cover there. Is that has the World of Black Hammer Encyclopedia. This was a free comic book day feature. I'm trying to remember how that worked. Because I did have it, but then I waited for this. Maybe this came out separately. Maybe you had to buy this off the stands, but it came out on free comic book day. And then there was a single issue that takes place in one of these that was the free comic book day issue. I can't remember quite how that worked. But here's the Anti-God. That's the villain I was talking about earlier. He's like your dark side type. And it says like a little character bios. Black Hammer is the main hero. That's the main mystery of this first story. Is that the characters are all trapped on this farm, and there's this mysterious Black Hammer, and they're all trying to get back to their where they're from. And there's like interesting things with each character. So, Abraham Slam, like I said, he's like the aging Golden Age hero. Anti-God's your dark side stand-in. Barb Alien is from Mars, and he can transform himself just kind of like Martian Manhunter to like where he looks like human, but he's also an alien from another planet, so he has trouble adapting, I guess, to the world. But he's also a homosexual, so that's another layer too. So even on a different planet, even within the different planet, even if he transforms himself to look like a human, he still feels like an outcast because of the homophobia that runs rampant in our world, unfortunately. Here's the Black Hammer Squadron. This is drawn by Matt Kent, and we'll see the spin-off to these guys in a future library edition. Cabinet of Horrors. Here's Colonel Weird. He's your Adam Strange stand-in. You get to see him as a young version and an old version. And his conceit is that he travels through so many different dimensions and time frames that he kind of has lost his mind and gone cuckoo. But so people are afraid that he's kind of like the tinfoil hat wearing jokester that you can't really take seriously. But some people are also wondering if the crazy theories he comes up with are true. It's kind of like a frightening thing there. I'm just going to go over the main characters here. Here's Golden Gale. Her conceit is that when she says a magic word, like Shazam, similar to Shazam, she can transform into a superhero that's a child. Well, unfortunately, when they're stuck on the farm, this mysterious farm that they've been trapped on, she's trapped inside the body of the 9-year-old. So she's like a 64-year-old woman trapped inside of a 9-year-old body. So she starts to go to school because they have to keep the thing going in town while they're on the farm, that they're just like a normal family. She has to go to school, and she's like caught like smoking cigarettes as like a 9-year-old and that kind of thing. So that's an interesting dynamic there. Can go over just the main characters here. Madame Dragonfly is the one that causes a lot of the mystery and the paranormal kind of things going on. She lives in a barn on the farm. And like I said, she's kind of like your Raven character, if you're familiar with Raven from Teen Titans. And here's the various teams you'll see, like the Quantum League. Sherlock Frankenstein, we'll see him come up in a future library edition. Skulldigger and Skeleton Boy, they have not been... They had a 6-issue run that finished, but has not been printed in a library edition yet. There's Talkie Walkie, the robot. The Unbelievable Unteens, I think their series just wrapped up too. So I'm waiting for that one to be collected in a library edition. So here's the sketchbook. And then a bunch of cool covers. This one's by James Stokoe, one of my favorites. If you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you know how much I love Stokoe. Let's try to show off some more highlights here. I'm trying to make sure this video doesn't run super long. I love that artwork. I'm not familiar with Tyler Bintz and Bruno Seelig, though. Might have to look that up. I love this homage here. And then back here is the recommended reading order. So it tells you how to read the library editions in order. This one says to read Volume 1 Library Edition, and then The World of, which I'm going to show off next, and then Volume 2, and then The World of Volume 2. Obviously, this is updated through all the way through World of Black Hammer Volume 3. But I'm going to talk to you about the reading order here, too. And there's also trade paperbacks if you want to read it all in that order, too. So it's very much like the Hellboy reading orders, if you've seen those. I've seen a lot of those go around where they give you options of trade paperback or library editions. So this is World of Black Hammer Volume 1. And each of these World of Black Hammer volumes collect 2 miniseries of about 6 issues in length each. Maybe 4 to 6 issues. I think some of them might be a little bit shorter. And this one in particular includes Sherlock, Frankenstein, and the Legion of Evil, and then Dr. Andromeda and the Kingdom of Lost Tomorrows. Dr. Andromeda was originally named Dr. Star, and then I think there's some sort of rights issues where they had to change the name. So the original trade paperback and comic books that came out for Dr. Andromeda were named Dr. Star. Here's the credits written by Jeff Lemire for both of them. Sherlock, Frankenstein, Legion of Evil, art, color, and letters by David Rubin. The flats are done by Kiki Diaz. Chapter breaks are by Rubin, Magnola, Ormston, Figueredo, Lemire, Stewart, and then Metal Minotaur, co-created by Gus Lemire. So those are, the chapter breaks are all the variant covers. They break each chapter up with a cover and the variant cover. And then Dr. Andromeda and the Lost Tomorrows is art by Max Fiumara, and then the colors by Dave Stewart. Letters by Nate Picos of Blamebot, and the chapters breaks are by Max Fiumara. And then here's the first cover of Sherlock, Frankenstein, and the Legion of Evil. So Sherlock Frankenstein is a character that you would meet in Black Hammer Volume 2. But like I said, the reading order does recommend you read this first so you get a little bit of a sample of who the character is. I don't think it's imperative to read it that way. It's a nice Mike McNolan cover. I think you can read Volume 1 and 2 and then all 3 World ofs. They're all pretty new reader friendly. It's not unlike Hellboy, which I compared to Hellboy a lot because I think this is kind of like the new Hellboy universe for Dark Horse. But they... Sorry, I know relax the spine. But you can kind of start anywhere. All these series are new reader friendly. So if you're in a comic book shop and the first Black Hammer series that appeals to you is Sherlock Frankenstein, then by all means start there. Maybe that'll get you into something else. But the wonderful thing is this is still a fresh new... Here's the first of Dr. Andromeda. It's still a fresh new superhero universe, and I know superhero universes can be daunting, especially when you think of like the big 2, Marvel, DC. This is still fresh and new enough to where you can dive in now and get a feel for the universe and go along for the ride. So the back matter here are thumbnails by David Rubin. You get some sketch art, some concept art of who this character is going to be, with some commentary by Jeff Lemire. And then some more process pages. And the reason why I think this is, or the reason to point that out is that I was invited onto a YouTube channel called Zlurpcast, which is normally a channel that deals with tabletop gaming. They invited me on to talk about comics, and my older brother Brian is one of the hosts there. And so I gave them a bunch of recommendations of what I've been reading lately, and I recommended Black Hammer. They all went and read it, loved it, and then they invited me back on to talk about it. Now, this episode will probably air before that one does on my channel, but I will update the links at the bottom in the description to let you know when that video airs, or maybe I'll do this afterwards. But I wanted to show these off kind of in tandem with that video that I do, where we We're just covering the first 2 library editions and talking about it. So this is World of Black Hammer Library Edition Volume 2. This includes Black Hammer 45 and the Quantum Age. Black Hammer 45, story by Jeff Lemire and Ray Fox, script by Fox, art by Matt Kent, colors by Charlene Kent, letters by Marie Inger, and then chapter breaks with different variant covers there. The Quantum Age, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Wilfredo Torres, colors by Dave Stewart, letters by Nate Picos, prologue letters by Todd Klein, cover by Torres and Stewart, and then there's some more variant covers. So Black Hammer 45 is kind of your throwback. This takes place obviously in 1945. And this is kind of your boys gang, Jack Kirby styled comic. Maybe you think about like Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos, or you think of like Boys Ranch or Boy Commandos, those kinds of things. But you're not missing giant robots or anything of the sort. That would be also awesome to include. So this is very much Matt Kent, even like the aged looking paper on the outside that he does. If you're familiar with Matt Kent, he's one of my favorite writers and artists. I prefer his work when he does the art, but he has also written a lot of good series. If you want a quick Matt Kent series, I'd recommend would be Mind Management, would be the most important one, I'd think. Or Super Spy. Berserker with Keanu Reeves, which I'm going to have a video on my channel within the next week or so covering that. So he's just great. I love his artwork. His art is very reminiscent of Jeff Lemire's own artwork, and they are best friends, so it kind of makes sense. Then here's Quantum Age with Wilfredo Torres. And this is another thing where it's like Hellboy. So now Hellboy, you have all the spin-offs like BPRD, Lobster Johnson, Witchfinder. I'm trying to think of any other ones that spin off coming to the top of my head. Those are the main ones. But within those, you get a lot of different types of art styles, a lot of different interpretations of people drawing characters you're familiar with, which is cool. But this is all written by Jeff Lemire. Like I said, Ray Fox does help on one of these stories, but he's at least doing the story by, which is kind of what Mike Mignola does with Hellboy. Even though he doesn't write every script or draw every issue, the stories are all by him, so he still has like basic control over what's going on with the universe, which is great because then you still have that cohesiveness. These are cool process pages. So this is Matt Kent doing pencils, inks, and then the colors. And you can see on the pencils and ink stage, you don't have like the aged look yet to the outside. It's a cool way to do process pages, I think. They have a bunch of those in there. And the Quantum Age sketchbook, just Torres just sketching out characters and trying to get a feel for them. And here's Matt Kent's library right here. Ether, I mentioned that earlier too. Bang is a new one. Department H is a great one. And then the last one is going to be World of Black Hammer Volume 3. This is the last library edition to come out so far. And I emphasize so far because they have miniseries like Skulldigger and Skeleton Boy and the Unbelievable Unteens that can still come out in library editions later for World of. The mainline series has just now started, I don't even know if issue 1's come out yet, started a new ongoing. So Black Hammer Volume 3 of the mainline library editions, still probably a ways to go. It'll probably be next year at the earliest that we'd see that one. And by next year, sorry, probably end of 2022, early 2023 before we see that one. So this is Volume 3. We've got Colonel Weird Cosmogog, written by Jeff Lemire, art letters by Tyler Crook. Some chapter breaks by different creators for the variant covers. And then Barbalian Red Planet, script by Tate Brumble, story by Lemire and Tate Brumble. Art by Gabriel Hernandez Volta, colors by Jordi Belair, letters by Aditya Bidikar, I think. And then more variant covers. So Colonel Weird is probably my, I don't know. Every time I read Black Hammer, and I have read through the first 2 volumes a few times. I read it in trade paperback before I got the library editions as well. My favorite character changes here and there, but I think Colonel Weird might be my most favorite. I just like the idea of this guy that's constantly, who is like an Adam Strange stand-in, who I like Adam Strange as well, so maybe that's a little bit of it. But traveling through different dimensions and timelines and stuff like that, and it just messes with his brain, as you can imagine. And then I like the idea of having this old man character that's like this, who's kind of like, people think he's a kind of a loon, and they don't believe anything he says or any of his theories, but then maybe some of them come true, and that becomes kind of creepy in itself, so that maybe you should have been listening to him all along. I like that whole concept. So I love this series too. I think they did a good job with it, expanding the character. And then Barbalian is an amazing character as well. I think all the characters are just so layered. I feel like they can all have their own series, and so far we've had, I think these are the first 2 that had their own series from the main line, right? Because the other ones were just new characters. Yeah, these are the first 2 of the main heroes, the ones I introduced on the first Dust Jacket, to have their own series. So I feel like you can just continue to build layers upon layers with that. Such a great thing. So, such a great story. Here's the back matter for this one. You get a sketchbook by Tyler Crook, who did the Colonel Weird story. We have 3D printers. Yeah, so Tyler Crook got a 3D printer and was messing around with that, which is really a cool thing. And you have a Gabriel Hernandez Volta's sketchbook for Barbalian, Red Planet. So lots of back matter. These are great, fantastic editions. I think for my money that the Dark Horse library editions are the best collected editions out there. They've done library editions of like Hellboy, Umbrella Academy. They've done Hellboy, Umbrella Academy. They've done library editions for the Aliens and Predator comic books back in the day before they lost the license to those. Just, I don't know, like a ton of different series. If you just look them up, just look up Dark Horse library editions, and there's been plenty of them. But they're way oversized, but they're easy to handle. They don't really make them too thick. Oh, the Madman by Mike Allred. They're doing those right now. They're doing 6 volumes. Volume 1 came out last year. Volume 2 is due out in December/January. And Volume 3 should come out middle next year. So they're going to try and do 2 volumes of those until they get to all 6 of those. They're just fantastic editions. I'll probably show off more on my channel. I'm currently collecting the Hellboy ones, as I want to do a full Hellboy read through. And I'm missing like 3 volumes of those so far. But yeah, this is Black Hammer. It's a fantastic series. Please comment down below if you like Black Hammer or if you're going to buy it based off this video. I always love hearing that, to try it out. I think it's truly like the best superhero universe going today, and this is a great jumping on point right now because, yes, it might seem daunting because there's these 5 volumes here, but they make it nice and easy by collecting it in these volumes. So you can just really just wait for the library editions and not have to worry about singles or trade paperbacks if you don't want to, or you can do that if you're a trade paperback trade waiter. But it's a fantastic series, so I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Any other Jeff Lemire comics that you like, or Matt Kent comics, or Dean Ormston, Dave Rubin, those kinds of things. Dave Stewart, any of his great coloring that you've liked. Comment with all those down below. Let me know if there's any other library editions I should pick up, or that you'd like to see me show off on the channel. And subscribe, hit the notification bell. And like I said, I'll have a link below to the Swordcast episode where I go and talk about Black Hammer in depth with 4 other comic book readers. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.